We're on. Hi.
Hello. Hi,
Hi, everybody.
ladies.
Well, let me take
Welcome welcome to our very first Sister Girls Chat live. And we are so very thankful that you ladies decided to come and hang out with us, Sister Girls, tonight. And so while you are getting your mocktail, and whatever snacks make you comfortable, I'm going to just give a little bit of background about Sister Girl Chat and the team and how we all got started. So I am Deborah, your faith warrior. And Sister Girl Chat, I started back in 2012 in my living room. And I wanted it to be a place for my girlfriends to come together and we could have some real live conversations about those challenges and issues that we face every day as Christian women. And so it started off nice, and then it got a little churchy, and it got more into being a Bible study. And that wasn't quite the vision that I had for it. I didn't think that that's what God wanted me to do with it, because I knew there was a place, needed for women who were not quite as mature as myself or some other ladies. And they needed to have a place where they could be comfortable and just be who they were and, not be judged because they were not as mature. They didn't know the word as much as some others. So it wasn't quite that. So I stopped it back then until I met three phenomenal women who caught the vision that I had, who wanted a place where they could come and be real and share the knowledge that God had given them with women just like you. And so they caught that vision and they agreed to come and do Sister Girl Chats with me. And so with that, I want to introduce those phenomenal women to you, and so you can get to know them as well as I have. So first is the storyteller, Miss Jenn. And Jenn is currently in North Carolina, and she is everything that you would want in a writer. She's a blogger, she's a writer, she's a ghostwriter, and she's my go-to person when it comes to writing anything. So, ladies, meet Jenn.
Hello.
Hi, Jenn.
Hi.
And then next we have Miss Drama Queen herself, Miss Shonda. And Shonda is hailing from the great state of Texas. And Shonda is responsible for anything that you see that looks like a video, because I certainly cannot do it myself. So Shonda is a producer. She does the video. She does all of this creative stuff that I cannot do. And I am so absolutely glad to have her a part of the team. So ladies, say hi to Shonda.
Oh, hi.
I'm waving.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Okay.
And so next we have the nomad, the wanderer, the globetrotter herself, Miss Tania. And Tania is our international presence. So you didn't know that we had already gone international with our very first Sister Girl Chat. So Tania is from New Zealand. She is the creative. So if you see anything in print that looks cute, I did not create it. Tania did. So ladies, here's Tania.
Hi.
All right, so we're only on. So just to give you some more information about Sister Girl Chats, we're gonna come to you guys live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. in the afternoon in New Zealand. Assuming that Tania is still in New Zealand and she's not globetrotting all over the world somewhere else. But we're gonna be coming at this time every Wednesday. So we want you to relax. We want you to get in girlfriend mode so we can start having this conversation, this chat. And so, ladies, what are we chatting about tonight?
Oh, waiting.
Waiting. We're always waiting. What are we waiting on, Jenn? Jenn, are you waiting on something? What are you?
Tonight we're talking about.
Go ahead, Shonda.
I'm sorry. Tonight we're talking about waiting on God. You know, sometimes as we are Christian women, sometimes sometimes we think that when we don't hear anything, that that's a no, or I'm not thinking about you, or I did something wrong, especially like the four of us are in business or trying to do an entrepreneurial type of thing, or waiting for this big opportunity, and it can get a little frustrating. So we all wanted to discuss that type of thing happening all around the world, because there's never a time. I know that John Bevere has a new book coming out about this. It's called Being in the Wilderness. And he says, no Christian escapes the wilderness. So if we're told that kind of up front, it kind of helps a little bit to know what we're in for, instead of, because sometimes we go to church, we hear all these great testimonies and it's like, hey, everything's working out great for everyone else. What's wrong with me? And then you can kind of mess things up when you start, we heard about the Ishmael type of thing. So that's what we're going to be talking about. It's a real and relatable problem. If it become a problem, or we can just let it be what it is, which is a test or whatever is going on, or just the delay, time to develop your character or something like that. So that is what we're talking about in a nutshell.
Okay, so who wants to get us started tonight?
I'm so sorry, Deborah. This is going to be awkward. We're just talking. Okay. So I know that we all have individual waiting stories. So I just want to know if anybody wants to volunteer at first to talk about their waiting story, whether they're going through it now or been through it. We just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're in the same boat as they are. So who's going to be first?
Well,
I'll start.
All right, Jen, go, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Have we got some sort of delay happening, because it's like...
Yeah,
that happened.
I'm waiting on so much. I have several promises from God that I'm waiting on. So things related to my business, things related to a marriage relationship, things related to my finances. So I really do genuinely feel like I'm almost kind of waiting for this new season in my life to start. And I'd say it's probably really most intensely, I guess, been going on for the last 1.5 to 2 years. That's kind of when I started getting a lot of promises from God, and when I really noticed him really going to work on me. And I actually prayed earlier today to sort of check in with him, like, okay, so what's the most important thing that you want me to share out of this journey? Because I feel like I could talk about this topic for like 7 days straight and probably still not be done.
Right.
But really, I think the thing that just jumped out in my mind right away was this one particular day where I was sitting on the computer working, and I had just sort of worked myself into this tizzy because I was looking ahead to all these things that he had promised me. And I won't get into all the specifics, but I was letting myself just totally live in the future. And I was getting all excited and daydreaming, and that's all I was thinking about. And I actually felt God get a hold of me and pull me back and, pretty much say to me, you are going to miss everything I'm trying to do with you right here because you're focusing so much up there. And it wasn't really until that day, until that afternoon, that really clicked with me. And I realized if I don't start paying attention to what's happening right now, I'm going to miss everything that he has for me in this season. And
absolutely,
this morning, when he reminded me of that day, that afternoon, he gave me a really cool little representation of it, because I'm like a very visual person. And he just sort of popped this picture into my head, and he was like, it's kind of like the way a lot of us say we want it to be whatever the next season is. So in the wintertime, we all want it to be summer. And then in the summertime, we're like, oh, I want it to be fall. And we literally are on this perpetual thing of we always want it to be the next season. And he just sort of brought that to my mind this morning and was like, it's the same kind of thing where we always want it to be the next season instead of just slowing down. And if it's summertime, enjoying the sun. If it's wintertime, enjoying a nice frost outside, enjoying this season for what it is and not always trying to project yourself into the next season. So that was kind of my biggest takeaway, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. And I love, Jen, the fact that, I mean, because one of the things that resonates with me is the fact that, you see it as a season just like he showed it to me as a season, right?
Right.
And I know I am waiting. I mean, I think I've been waiting on the same 4 things for the last 10 years. And it's like, oh my Lord, when, Lord, when? So I think our next topic should be when, as opposed to why, it's taking so long. But I've been waiting on some things, like you, waiting on the husband, waiting on my child to get it together, waiting on my body to, stop being 51 and go back to being 35, waiting for this business to take off. But, when he gave it to me, and I know it's a God thing because, he's speaking seasons to both of us, right? Same thing. And the way he gave it to me was, he said, it's a season. The seeds that you're sowing in prayer and through prayer, it's just like a natural seed. It's a spiritual seed that you're sowing when when you pray and you put these things out there to God, and it's just like a natural seed. We cannot expect that seed is going to grow and produce fruit overnight.
Right.
And when he gave that to me, it was like, oh my gosh, this is a big aha moment. I mean, it's simple and it, yet you don't think about it, that there is going to take some time for these things to happen. God has to coordinate all these things to make, these prayers come to pass. And it takes a little while. But when we can look at it as a season and know that, well, when we put this seed into the ground, it has to germinate, it has to grow. And depending on what type of fruit is going to be produced, it takes a little while. It takes, it's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen this week. It may take months. It may take years. But the fact is, there is something going on under the ground, right? And then at some point, you're going to start seeing, little seedlings pop out. And it's evidence that God has been doing something. But he's not sitting there doing nothing. When we put those prayers out there, he is doing something in the spirit realm. And so we can be assured of that because we've seen it over and over and over again. But that's the thing, like Shonda was saying, when you know that it's going to take a little while, then it makes the wait not seem so bad. But if you don't know that up front, which is one of the things that, reasons of why we're here today, is to let people understand that it's going to take a little while, but there is something, and God is God. He does not lie. So you will start to see some fruit eventually. It could be a little fruit, that's not quite edible yet, but eventually it's going to grow into this big fruit that you can, partake of, and it's going to be real good.
Yeah. It seems to be that the way in which you guys talking about this really probably resonates with the majority of us as Christian women or Christians in general, because like yourselves, I'm going through the similar situations, and there's several that pop up into my head when I think about the waiting game that God has allowed me to walk. And one of them that jumps out at me more strongly was probably about this time last year, and regarding my business. And I feel that I've always wanted more, but it's been so slow, such a slow process in developing the business that God's given me. And I came to a place where I think I had a little mini meltdown. I just thought, nothing's working, and I'm stuck. I don't have any money, and what are you doing with me, Lord? And I'd had all this faith up into a certain point, and then I just sort of spat the dummy. I just went, oh, that's it. Like, what do I do? Do I go back and get a job? And I had all these questions. And what happened for me is it's almost like I just let go of everything, and I cried. And I cried. I like that snot-faced crying. Just like, and I could feel the grief, like something had died inside of me, because I felt like I'd come to a place of, I'm either going to have to trust God where it's really frightening because I have nothing, or I'm just going to go and turn around. And I could see that area, and it's like, Lord, I've been working for myself 8 years now, or 7 years at that point, and nothing has come of it. And he had led me, so he was leading me to this place and like screwing me down until I popped. And at the time, I was in a little place called Gisborne in New Zealand. I was house sitting and looking after an avocado orchard. And he told me to go outside and stand in under the avocado orchard. Now, if you have not known an avocado, it's a tree. It's kind of like you can walk inside of it. It's dappled shade and it's like hanging with fruit, but you're not allowed to pick the fruit. The fruit has to be blackened and naturally come off the tree by itself, rather than you shake like you can shake the tree, but you're not to touch it. And I'm sitting there, I'm a mess. I've got the dog lying up against me, like I'm worried about and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm like, Lord, I need to be able to get out of here and buy groceries and all this, and I'm really not making any money in my business. And that's a whole different story. But then the Lord said to me, look at the avocados around you. Look at the tree around you. And I'm looking at the tree, and he goes, notice the fruit. And it's just laden with fruit. And he said, but you cannot touch it because it's not ripe yet. But each of these avocado fruits represent the clients I have in store for you. And I'm like, really? And he said, reach out and touch it. And I could reach out and touch a few of them because they were around me. He said, you can touch it, but you can't take it. And when you are, I have them ripening for you. And he said, look at the rows of trees. Look at the row. Like there was an orchard. It was a small orchard of like 5 or 6 rows of huge mature trees. He said, these are the clients I have in store for you. Will you trust me to give them to you? And I will put them in your bucket. I'll drop them in front of you. And in that waiting period, it was like, Lord, I've been waiting. And he's like, you've got to trust me before you get the client.
Yeah.
So I sort of picked myself up, wiped my face, and I come away from that feeling quite awed because I'd felt quite lost. So I think there was like a 10 days of nothing, of just, and I had to go away. I got my a little notebook, and I wrote down every way that he was blessing me so I could live that day. To that, today I made one meal that lasted me 3 days. I ate so much avocado it wasn't funny. And he provided. And he started talking to me. He started, even though I had no actual evidence of cash in my bank account for quite some time at that point, he said to me, I want you to be prepared for receiving retaining clients. I went, what's a retaining client? What do I know? And I had to go and figure that out. And then he said, I want you to do, he told me several things. And I did that faithfully because I thought, I want to follow you more than I want to go back and do with the things that I know what to do. And then 2 months later, so I still had to wait 2 months. But in that time, he provided everything for me. I had a list of things. And then I got a phone call from a chap in Australia. And as he's telling me his name, I'd never met him before. He said, hi, my name is, and the Lord said to me, this is your retaining client. And he said, oh, I've called because I want to work with you. And I thought, wow. And that waiting period, there's that wait that changes the level of trust, and then you start seeing the reasons why that you had to go through that. So it was like harrowing and exciting and wonderful at the same time. So that was
good stuff.
It really is. And I just want to, because this is really good, it's not just because I'm part of it. This is really good information. This is information that I would have wanted, starting out. So I want to encourage our viewers. We have a couple of viewers on here that I can see. I wanted to encourage you guys to share this broadcast and to with as many women, Christian women as you can think of, because
Amen.
A lot of people, they'll say, oh, I'll go back and do the, and watch the recording, but this is 30 minutes now. We know on Facebook, that's hardly happened. So, and it's best to just go ahead and share it and get on with this live. Also, I want to encourage everyone, just ask some questions. We're not here just to, share our stories. We're here to have an interaction with you, and we're here to answer some of the questions that you have about some of the things that we've been through and how we can help you. I want everybody to know that, you know, my story is like, I'm sitting here like almost embarrassed, but this just shows you that every joint supplies. It's like, oh, you know, you guys went through it so nicely, and it's like, I'm like, and God tells you, like, no, look at nature, and then I get this lecture like, you're being a brat, go somewhere and sit down somewhere, you know. So I'm like, well, now I just really feel like an extra brat, because it's like they're just so grateful with their stories, and I'm just like, I did that the video about Opie Taylor when he was trying to do a tantrum. If you haven't seen Andy Griffith, it's an old show, but he was trying. Anyone that knows Andy Griffith knows that he's not going to fall for a tantrum. And God said to me one day, he's like, "That's enough, Opie," and I went, "Oh!" I had a tantrum. It's like, it's not going to work. You look ridiculous. It's not going to move me. So stop doing it. And it kind of laid a lot of the things that, you know, that God was trying to show me, because I just refused. Because my former career, I was feeling very, I'm going to say it, I was just feeling like kind of betrayed by God, because it's like, you know, I had my life all planned out, and I just wanted to, you know, do something for you. And it's like, how could you, when, you know, like all those other people out there aren't trying to do anything for you, and they're just like making money and taking my money. You know, I hired all these coaches, and I'm like, I didn't get anything out of that. She got my $1,000. We had to scrape up pennies and nickels and dimes to pay her. So, I was like, they're not even serving you, and like, she's got clients out the wazoo, you know. So I was just very upset, and like I said, and I had my life already already planned out. So I felt like I had to deal with like all kinds of emotions. It wasn't just solo, the waiting. It was like feeling betrayed, as like, how silly is that? Like, you think that God betrayed you. And I mean, I can talk about it now, but it's like, when we're honest, like, that's the stuff that was coming out. Like, you know, I know you can't lie, but did you just trick me a little bit? You know, it's like, come on, you know, like, that's what I was going through. And I'm still waiting for my happy ending, and Deborah will tell you, it's really hard to convince me when something good happens. That's part of my problem too. So there's just a bunch of issues that I'm still working through, and I'm just so grateful to have you ladies to be able to do this with and be honest with, and that's why I want everyone to share the broadcast. It's not like, you know, we're not selling you anything, so share it with safety. No one's going to try to sign you up for a coaching program. Right. Us pouring out our heart to help you not make the mistakes that we did. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead. You can get a little shout out on the screen and everything like that. But I don't have a great season story. I have a go somewhere and like put down, you know. So
it's just as important. I mean, it's just as important. You the whole aspect of waiting, like, I'm waiting today. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting for the very thing that I even spoke about. It's like, okay, I'm still waiting. Now the Lord's provided, and he changes me. And like, the fact that we can mention as a little story, it just gives like a millimeter of information about. There's a bucket load of stuff that happened and happens around it, that you've got the layers of depth, and I love how you speak. I think you're cute.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I mean, you know, we've gone through some stuff and come on the other side of some stuff, but like I said, I'm still waiting for some stuff, and have been for a few years, but you know, Shonda, hey, we all went through the same thing. I mean, you know, thankfully I have been able to see God do some stuff that he promised, but then there's so much other stuff that he hasn't done. But I'm telling you, in the meantime, in that time between, you know, the time when he promised it and it actually came to fruition, now there was sweat and snot and tears, and you know, I mean, the exact same stuff that you said. I'm like, I am living for you. I'm teaching for you. I'm coaching for you. I'm praying for other folks' children. And those kids are doing excellent, and mine is still trying to figure it out. And I'm like, what in the world? What did I do wrong? I mean, seriously. So, you know, we all go through the same thing, you know, regardless of what the questions. And I think the questions end up being the same, because it's always the why question, right? The big why question. Why is it taking so long? You know? And so, but it's the same thing. Some stuff I'm good with, because I've gone through it and come to the other side. But then there's some stuff where I'm like, oh, it's still a struggle every day. So we are all in this together. And that's the wonderful thing I love about, starting the Sistah Girl chat, is because I want people to understand that they are not, especially our girlfriends, that you're not in it by yourself. We are doing life together, and we want to do life with you. So, that's what it's about.
I found.
Well, and I actually experienced kind of. Oh,
sorry. Jenn. I just want to make a comment to the word betrayal, and because I want to put my hand up that I surprised myself that I feel that probably more regular. It's like, oh, hang on, I thought this would go well, and then I feel guilty. I have felt guilty, and I feel guilty to say that whom I love the most in all this world is the Lord, and yet sometimes, hey, you didn't look after me, like like that aspect of you're not taking care of me the way I expect you to, and have felt that sense of I feel betrayed, and then I feel a bit sheepish, like I'm sorry, but sorry, but I come back to that whole aspect. The Lord, he's got big shoulders. He's got wide shoulders, and he can handle my tantrums. He can handle my, like, I do it with sincerity, and I can have a rip-roaring argument to myself with him, and with respect, and say, Lord, you know that this is not my heart, but I'm feeling frustrated, and when I start saying that stuff, I feel that I'm having a real relationship with him, like I'm talking with my girlfriend, or I'm talking with my boyfriend, or whomever who I'm having a real issue with, or that I can speak to. So I really wanted to say that I relate to the feeling of betrayal, and I didn't want you to feel that you're like, you put yourself out there and gone, oh, I've said it.
And Jenn, you were gonna say what?
I was gonna say something very similar to what Tania just said. I think we're kind of on the same wavelength, because I almost tend to lean the other way, where I have those feelings, but I get sheepish about it too. And I kind of I feel like, well, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I still have those feelings, but I don't want to admit them. And he actually outright in the car one day, I was just driving, and I heard him say, get mad. And Deborah knows this because I called her, and I was like, I don't know what to do, because I thought this has to be the enemy deceiving me. There's no way God would tell me to get mad at him. And I even kind of like said that back in my head. I was like, I must just be hearing, somebody trying to be you, because you wouldn't tell me to be mad. And I just felt like he kept saying, get mad. And I didn't even successfully do it right then. I ended up talking to Deborah, and she's like, he can take your attitude. Like, he's not going to stop loving you just because you get mad. And I didn't get mad for like probably another 3 days. And then I just hit it. And I was so tired of being poor, and I was so tired of not having money for food. And I got in my car to leave to go do a pet sit, and I just let it loose in the car. And I was like, I don't understand why you told me to do this, and I did it, and I did this, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I did everything you told me to do. And I got mad, and I'd almost felt like he was like, finally, like, you're being real with me. Like you just said, Tania, it was like, I finally felt like I had a real relationship with him. And I realized, like, I can be real about my feelings through this journey, because it's not all pretty, and it's not all perfect and rainbows and sunshine, and that's okay. You don't have to put on this front. You certainly don't have to put on a front with God.
Do you notice? Sorry, do you notice how when you've had a mate in your life, a boyfriend, or a close significant person, a family member, I had this epiphany once where I had a rip snort argument with my boyfriend, and then we got through it. Like, we didn't run away from it. We got through it, and then we kissed and made up, and it was like glue. It was like, oh, we can actually get through a problem together, and I got to say my piece, and storm, and he got to say his piece, and we both went, oh, we're stronger. And I thought, oh, Lord, you just make us stronger when, basically he doesn't have to argue with me, but,
Right.
I actually appreciate hearing these stories. Thanks. for sharing.
Yeah, and that's what God. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's about relationship with Him. It's about a real relationship with Him. It's not perfect. I mean, He tells us that we are not perfect. So why are we trying to be perfect? And so that's what this is all about. You know, you coming in, be your imperfect self, and it's okay. No judgment. We love you. He loves you anyway. So thank you so much, ladies. We are at the end of our first live stream, and thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back on next week, and next week, same time, we are talking about how to let God lead your business, how to do business God's way. So please come back, join us next week, and in the meantime, be blessed and be a blessing.
Okay.
Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Bye, ladies.
Good night.